All right, guys, why we have lost the long game in compromising. I'm going to explain it to you like a first grader. Are you ready? So there's a certain group of people on the right and the left, right? They lead this country. And the certain group that's on the left, what they have done is, and this is just bare knuckle simple, okay? They come to the table with 10 ideas. And we disagree morally on all 10 of these ideas, and they don't make sense, okay? And so maybe 3 or 4 of them kind of make sense, but they kind of twisted them. And then so what they do is they say, you don't compromise with us. It's supposed to be compromising, us and you working together for the greater good. So we say, fine, and we give them 5. That's our compromise. And there's this other 5 that was just a little too radical on the table, right? And then what they do is they move this to this side, and then they add a new 5 that are even more radical than this 5. And when they come back up in a year or 2 years or however long it is before they're going to change those laws again, and then what they do is they come in and they say, hey, you know, the right looks at it and says, this is absolutely ridiculous. No, we're not going to take these. And they say, well, wait a minute, you have to compromise. So what do? We give them 5 more. Right? Because these aren't nearly as unreasonable as these. Okay? And so this just continues on. But look what happened. They asked for 10 things, they got all 10 things. They asked for 10 more things a little longer, they get all 10 things. It may take them a while, but they eventually get every single thing that they want because we don't have the backbone to say no and never bring that to the table again. Right? So when they bring up 10 things and we give them 5, these 5 should never be allowed at the table again in the history of the United States. You understand? But no, we don't do that. We're too stupid to see that. We're not playing the long game with them. So what they're doing is they get this 5, and then the next time, this 5. And then the next time, this 5. And I'll give you a perfect example of this. You can mark these words if they're still on YouTube 8 years from now. I'm going to say 8 years from now, okay? When Bernie Sanders right now, everybody knows that he's not going to get elected. But what he is the mouthpiece. He's the mouthpiece of what's about to come. So Bernie is one of these 10 things they're asking for that's just a little too radical. But what's going to happen is they move them off the table, and then Bernie's idea won't seem so radical because the next one they come up with will be socialist. I guarantee you that's what's going to happen. So this is the failure, and this is why there's no coming back from it. I just don't believe there's any coming back from it. We have just given and given and given and given. And we don't bring anything to the table. We just try to fight them from taking everything, from adding more to the table. We're just trying to be like, oh, stop. We're not adding, and we're not standing on our own ground. We're not saying, no, I don't care what you say. Those 5 that you asked for last time, you don't bring them back up ever again, period, right? And those would be our standard issues on where we differ. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not just talking about the average person because the average American that I run into, whether they're Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. We agree on 95% of what we talk about. It's the mainstream media and the politicians who have made it to where we basically are divided and don't like each other, right? We only don't like each other in big crowds, but when we're one-on-one, we agree on almost everything. There's a few things we don't agree on. And, I understand there's, if you get into the progressive movement or the extreme right wing, well, we may not agree with anything on them, right? I don't agree with a lot of the extreme right wing. I don't agree with any of the progressives, but the most Democrats and most Republicans, if you actually look at them, they're moderates. They don't really want anything bad to happen. They don't really want to infringe on anybody. They just want to go on about their lives and you freaking leave them alone, right? That's what I want. Go on about my life and leave me alone, Whatever it is you want to do, cool, go over there. Don't push it on me. Don't push it on my family. Don't push it on the schools. Don't push it on the rest of the country. Do what you want to do, but don't push your agenda, right? But, you're tolerant to everything except you're not tolerant to the old ways. You're only tolerant if it's a new and weird way that didn't go with the old ways, right? Anyway, so that being said, that's why we are. That's why compromising always lose. okay, or we always lose because, you know, we're not compromising once and then that's how it's going to be. We're compromising and we're just keep giving and giving and giving and giving. So our compromise is everything you progressives want, you can have it. But it's going to take 30 or 40 years for you to get it all. That's the compromise. Anyway, guys, ponder on it. All right, guys, let's talk about the impending economic crash. So, from somebody who, an economic crash, the 2008 economic crash absolutely crushed. And I watched it crush a lot of my peers, a lot of my friends, a lot of great people. I watched it absolutely crush them. It can be argued that it crushed a whole generation. So, because I've seen this, it made me constantly